What happens when you step back, not out of spite, but out of a deliberate and necessary recalibration of your own self-worth? When you finally realize that attachment born from desperation diminishes both you and the relationship, it's in this pivotal moment of detachment that something remarkable occurs. The person you thought you needed begins to see you in a different light. It's not manipulation, nor is it cruelty. It's the natural consequence of valuing yourself enough to let go of control and fear. Detachment is not a simple act. It is a profound expression of self-awareness and discipline. It is an acknowledgement of your intrinsic worth, a declaration to the world and to yourself that you will not derive your identity or purpose from the validation of another person. This doesn't mean that you shun relationships or love, but rather that you refuse to let them dictate your value. Detachment is rooted in the understanding that to be truly connected with another person, you must first be at peace with yourself. When you pull back, it's not about rejecting someone or punishing them for their behavior. It's about creating space to realign your values, your goals, and your emotional state. It's an act of respect not only for yourself, but for the dynamic between you and the other person. Relationships cannot thrive when they are suffocating. They need air to breathe, and that air comes from moments of separation. In pulling back, you allow yourself the opportunity to reflect, and in doing so, you give the other person the same opportunity. It's a reset, a chance to assess what truly matters and what each of you is willing to bring to the table. Men, in particular, respond to this space in a very distinct way. It's not because they are simplistic or predictable, but because their psychology is wired to value what is not easily attained. When you are too available, too accommodating, or too eager to please, the dynamic shifts. You unknowingly position yourself as something guaranteed, something taken for granted. This doesn't mean that you should play games or intentionally withhold affection. Manipulation erodes trust and integrity. But pulling back authentically and with purpose creates a space where the other person must confront what they truly feel. In that space of detachment, men are often forced to evaluate their priorities. They begin to recognize the value of what they had, or risk losing. It's not just about the fear of loss. It's about awakening to the realization that something precious was there all along. When you detach, you aren't just giving them the opportunity to chase, you're giving them the chance to grow. Growth happens in discomfort, in uncertainty, and in the absence of guarantees. When someone is faced with the potential of losing what matters, they must decide if they are willing to fight for it. This process is not just for their benefit, it's for yours as well. Detachment allows you to see the relationship with fresh eyes. It forces you to ask yourself critical questions. Am I happy? Am I respected? Is this relationship aligned with my values and vision for the future? Detachment is a test not of love, but of compatibility, effort, and commitment. If someone steps up in response to your pulling back, it speaks volumes about their character and intentions. If they don't, then that silence is also an answer, one that spares you from investing further in something unreciprocated. Pulling back does not make you cold or unfeeling, it makes you discerning. It is a practice in self-control and self-preservation. It is a reminder that love should never come at the cost of your dignity or self-worth. Men chase when you pull back because they are drawn to strength, independence, and self-respect. They are inspired by women who know their value and refuse to settle for less than they deserve. True detachment is not passive. It's active. It requires courage to step back when every instinct tells you to hold on tighter. It demands faith not in the other person, but in yourself and in the process of life. When you detach, you signal to the world that you trust in your ability to thrive, regardless of the outcome. That kind of confidence is magnetic. It doesn't just draw people to you, it inspires them to rise to the occasion. Detachment is not the end of the story. It's the beginning of a better one. It is the catalyst for change, growth, and renewal. It is an invitation for others to meet you at your level, or to bow out if they cannot. In either case, you win because you have chosen to honor yourself above all else. Detachment doesn't happen in a vacuum. It is part of a larger narrative about boundaries and self-awareness. Boundaries are not walls meant to shut others out. They are the framework that defines who you are and what you stand for. They are the markers of respect, both for yourself and for others. Without boundaries, relationships become chaotic and imbalanced. When you pull back, you are asserting those boundaries not to punish the other person, but to protect your sense of self and the integrity of the connection. Men often misinterpret detachment at first. It might feel like rejection, an unexpected shift in the rhythm of the relationship. But that initial discomfort is precisely the point. Discomfort forces people to evaluate their priorities and actions. It compels them to reflect on their own behaviors and what they truly desire. When a man feels you pulling back, he is forced to confront his feelings in a way that proximity and constant availability never could. He begins to question, why does this matter to me? What am I willing to do to keep it? That introspection is the birthplace of genuine commitment. It's not just about triggering a reaction, it's about fostering a deeper understanding. When you pull back, you give him the space to see the relationship in its entirety, the good, the challenging, and the irreplaceable. He begins to see you not just as someone who meets his needs, but as someone who enriches his life in profound and meaningful ways. Detachment illuminates the difference between fleeting infatuation and enduring connection. It separates those who are merely interested from those who are genuinely invested. But this isn't just about the man, it's about you. Detachment is a mirror. It reflects your own patterns, fears, and desires. It challenges you to confront your need for validation and approval. It pushes you to ask, am I holding on out of love or out of fear? Am I seeking connection or avoiding loneliness? These questions are uncomfortable, but they are essential for growth. Detachment isn't just about creating space for the other person. It's about creating space for yourself to heal, grow, and redefine what you want in a relationship. In detachment, you reclaim your power. You shift the focus from what you can give to what you deserve. Men respect that kind of strength, even if they don't articulate it. They are drawn to women who know their worth and refuse to compromise it. When you pull back, you are not diminishing yourself. You are elevating the standard for how you expect to be treated. That elevation inspires others to meet you at your level or step aside if they cannot. There's an undeniable magnetism in detachment. It's not about being aloof or indifferent. It's about being grounded in your own worth. Men chase because they sense that you are whole on your own, that your happiness doesn't hinge on their presence. That independence is compelling. It's a reminder that love is not about completing one another, but about complementing each other. When you pull back, you invite him to rise to the occasion, not out of obligation, but out of a genuine desire to be part of your life. Detachment also brings clarity. It reveals the true nature of the connection. When you step back, you see who is willing to step forward. You witness who values the relationship enough to fight for it and who lets it fade. This clarity is a gift, even if the answer is not what you hoped for. It frees you to pursue connections that align with your values and aspirations. It spares you from investing in relationships that do not reciprocate your effort and love. True detachment is not a game. It is a practice in authenticity. It is a declaration that you will not settle for less than mutual respect, effort, and commitment. It is a reminder that you are worthy of a love that chooses you every day, not because of convenience or habit, but because of deep appreciation and care. Men chase when you pull back because they see the value of what you bring, not just in moments of closeness, but in the quiet strength of your independence. Detachment is not about withholding love. It's about ensuring that love is given and received in its truest form. It's about fostering connections that are built on mutual respect and understanding rather than dependency or fear. When you pull back, you give the relationship the chance to become stronger, more authentic, and more aligned with your deepest values. And in doing so, you honor not only yourself, but the potential for a love that truly lasts. Detachment when practiced authentically, is not a tactic but a testament to the inner strength that resides in all of us. It is a reminder that relationships at their best are not about possession or control, but about harmony and balance. When you pull back, you create a dynamic that challenges both yourself and the other person to rise above superficial patterns and explore the depths of genuine connection. It is not an act of manipulation, it is a courageous declaration of self-worth. For men, the act of pursuit is often rooted in the primal need to overcome challenges. But this instinct is not merely about the thrill of the chase, it is about the deeper fulfillment that comes from earning something meaningful. When you detach, you invite him into a journey of discovery, a journey that forces him to confront his own emotions, intentions, and desires. It pushes him to ask not just whether he wants you, but why he wants you. That why is the foundation of a love that endures beyond fleeting attraction. When you step back, you offer him the opportunity to reflect, to engage with the parts of himself that might otherwise remain dormant. He begins to realize that your absence is not a void, but a challenge. It calls him to reconsider what he values, what he's willing to invest, and what truly matters in a relationship. This process is not comfortable, but it is necessary. Growth, after all, rarely comes from comfort. But this dynamic is not about him alone. It is equally about you. Detachment demands an unwavering faith in your own value. It requires you to trust that your worth is not defined by another person's attention or affection. This is no small feat in a world that often equates validation with external approval. Yet, it is this inner resolve, this quiet confidence that men find irresistibly compelling. They are drawn not to neediness, but to the radiant assurance of someone who knows their own strength. Detachment also serves as a powerful filter. It separates the superficial from the substantial, the fleeting from the enduring. When you pull back, you see who truly values the connection enough to step forward and who fades into the background. This clarity is liberating, even if it is not always easy to accept. It spares you from investing time and energy into relationships that do not reciprocate your effort. It allows you to direct your focus toward those who are willing to meet you with the same level of respect and commitment that you offer. There is a paradoxical beauty in the way detachment inspires pursuit. By stepping back, you demonstrate that you are whole on your own, that your happiness is not contingent on someone else's presence. This independence is not only attractive but also empowering. It shows that you are not afraid to walk away from anything that does not align with your values. Men are not just intrigued by this strength, they are challenged by it. It pushes them to rise to the occasion, to become the kind of partner who is deserving of someone so self-assured. Detachment is not about withholding love or playing games. It is about ensuring that love, when given, is genuine and reciprocal. It is a reminder that relationships thrive not on dependency but on mutual respect and shared effort. When you pull back, you are not diminishing the connection. You are creating space for it to grow in authenticity and depth. You are setting the stage for a partnership that is not built on fear of loss but on the joy of mutual discovery. In pulling back, you also offer yourself the gift of perspective. You gain the clarity to see the relationship for what it truly is, unclouded by the noise of constant interaction. This perspective is invaluable. It allows you to discern whether the connection aligns with your values, whether it nourishes your growth, and whether it is worth pursuing further. And in that discernment, you reclaim your power not by controlling the other person, but by choosing what is best for yourself. Men are instinctively drawn to this kind of energy because it speaks to something primal and profound. It reminds them that love is not about taking, but about earning, not about possessing, but about cherishing. When you detach, you invite them to engage with that higher version of themselves, to pursue not just you, but the ideals of respect, commitment, and shared growth that you represent. That pursuit, when genuine, is not a game. It is an act of love in its truest form. The power of detachment lies not in its ability to provoke a reaction, but in its ability to foster understanding. It challenges both partners to engage with the relationship in a way that is honest, intentional, and transformative. It shifts the focus from what is easy to what is meaningful. And in doing so, it paves the way for a connection that is not only deeper, but also more enduring. Detachment, when practiced with integrity, is not an end. It is a beginning that holds the promise of love that is both profound and lasting. Detachment at its core is not about rejection or abandonment. It is an assertion of boundaries and a reaffirmation of self-respect. When you create distance, you allow room for introspection for yourself and the other person. And in that space, something profound happens. The other person begins to see you not as someone who exists merely to fulfill their needs, but as a person with your own depth, your own agency, and your own purpose. This shift in perception is vital for any relationship to thrive. When a man encounters this dynamic, he is often startled by the clarity it brings. He begins to see the moments he might have taken for granted, the effort you put in, the kindness you showed. These reflections are not just nostalgic, they are transformative. He starts to value what was always there but perhaps underappreciated. And this realization compels him to act, to seek you out. Not because he feels entitled to your presence, but because he realizes he must earn it. The challenge here is not just for him, it is for you too. To detach is to trust yourself deeply. It means resisting the urge to chase validation, to cling, to plead. Instead, it's about anchoring yourself in the belief that what is meant for you will not pass you by. This trust is not passive. It is active and empowering. It requires you to engage in your life fully, to pursue your goals, to nurture your passions, and to build the kind of life that brings you joy regardless of who chooses to walk alongside you. Men are drawn to women who possess this kind of energy because it speaks to their deepest instincts. It challenges them to rise to the occasion, to prove their worth, not through words, but through consistent actions. This challenge is not a game. It is a call to authenticity. It is a way of saying, I value myself enough to wait for the kind of effort that matches mine. And in doing so, you elevate the relationship dynamic from something transactional to something deeply meaningful. There is a misconception that detachment is cold or unfeeling. Nothing could be further from the truth. Detachment is an act of love for yourself and love for the other person. It is a way of ensuring that the connection is rooted in respect and mutual effort, not in dependency or fear. It is an invitation to grow together, to build something that is not only beautiful but also sustainable. And for men, this kind of love is both challenging and irresistible. The truth is, when you detach, you create a mirror for the other person. They see themselves reflected in your absence. They see their own behavior, their own fears, and their own desires. This reflection can be uncomfortable, but it is necessary. It forces them to confront what they truly want and what they are willing to do to achieve it. And in that confrontation, growth becomes possible not just for them, but for the relationship as a whole. There is a transformative power in detachment that goes beyond the individual relationship. It speaks to something universal, something timeless. When you step back, you are not just asserting your value, you are redefining the terms of connection itself. You are saying that love is not about control or possession, but about freedom and choice. This redefinition is revolutionary because it challenges the societal narratives that often dictate how relationships should unfold. Men are deeply attuned to this kind of energy. It taps into their instinctual drive to protect and provide, not out of obligation, but out of genuine desire. When you detach, you do not diminish their role. You elevate it. You give them the opportunity to step into their own strength, to prove not only their worth to you, but also their worth to themselves. This dynamic is not manipulative. It is empowering. It calls forth the best in both partners, creating a foundation of mutual respect and shared effort. The act of pulling back is also an act of self-discovery. In the space you create, you learn more about yourself, your needs, your boundaries, your aspirations. This self-awareness is the cornerstone of any healthy relationship. It allows you to approach the connection not from a place of fear or insecurity, but from a place of strength and clarity. And this energy is magnetic. Men are drawn to women who know themselves because it signals stability, confidence, and an unshakable sense of purpose. But detachment is not just about what you gain, it is also about what you let go of. You release the need for constant validation, the fear of loss, and the pressure to conform to expectations that do not serve you. This release is liberating, and it creates a space where love can flourish naturally without force or coercion. And in that space, something extraordinary happens. The relationship becomes not just a source of joy, but also a catalyst for growth. When men encounter this kind of detachment, they are often taken aback. It challenges them to rethink their approach to relationships. It pushes them to move beyond superficial attraction and engage with the deeper, more meaningful aspects of connection. This shift is not always easy, but it is transformative. It allows both partners to build a relationship that is not only fulfilling, but also enduring. At its heart, detachment is an act of courage. It is a willingness to step into the unknown, to trust that what is meant for you will find its way to you. This trust is not blind faith. It is a deep, unshakable belief in your own worth. It is a way of saying to the world, I will not settle for anything less than what I deserve. And in doing so, you inspire others to do the same. Men in particular respond to this energy because it speaks to their innate desire to pursue and protect. When you detach, you create a space where they can step into their role not as a savior, but as an equal partner. This dynamic is not about power. It is about partnership. It is about creating a relationship that is not built on dependency, but on mutual respect and shared effort. Detachment is also a profound act of self-care. It allows you to focus on your own growth, your own happiness, your own journey. This focus is not selfish. It is necessary. Because when you are whole on your own, you bring your best self to the relationship. And this wholeness is what attracts men, not because they want to complete you, but because they want to join you on your journey. But perhaps the most beautiful aspect of detachment is the way it transforms love itself. It shifts the focus from what you can get to what you can give. It reminds you that love is not about possession, but about connection. And in that connection, both partners find the freedom to be themselves, the courage to grow, and the strength to face life's challenges together. Men are drawn to this kind of love because it is rare and precious. It is not about games or manipulation. It is about authenticity and integrity. It is a love that challenges them to rise to the occasion, to become the best version of themselves. And in doing so, it creates a relationship that is not only fulfilling, but also transformative. In the end, the power of detachment lies not in pushing others away, but in drawing closer to yourself. It is about understanding that love, respect, and connection are not things to be forced or demanded, but cultivated through mutual growth and genuine effort. Detachment creates space for reflection, space for self-discovery, and space for relationships to flourish in authenticity and integrity. It is not a rejection of love, but an elevation of its standards, a refusal to settle for anything less than a partnership that respects and cherishes the individuality of both people. When you pull back, you invite introspection both for yourself and the other person. You encourage a dynamic built on choice rather than obligation, on freedom rather than control. This act, rooted in courage and self-respect, shifts the focus from fleeting validation to enduring value. It teaches you and those around you that the strongest relationships are born not of dependency, but of mutual empowerment and shared purpose. Detachment is not the end of connection, but its beginning. It calls forth clarity, strength, and authenticity, fostering relationships that are not only meaningful but transformative. It is an act of trust in yourself, in others, and in the journey of love itself. And through this trust, you find not only the relationships you deserve, but the person you were always meant to be.